and defenders, including Abahlali baseMjondolo, the Socio-Economic Rights Institute, or SERI, and the South African Human Rights Commission, following anti-immigrant protests by Operation Dudula. To talk us through this is Janine Erasmus from Corruption Watch. Janine, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good morning, and good morning to the viewers.
Thank you for making time. So what prompted Corruption Watch to launch or speak out against these attacks on Abahlali, the SERI and the SAHRC?
Well, the most fundamental fact is that the anti-immigration and anti-immigrant actions are illegal and unconstitutional. We have laws that are laid down very firmly in this country that protect people. We've got the Bill of Rights, which lays down rights such as freedom of association. We've got freedom to life. We've got the freedom to human dignity, and we've got the freedom from discrimination. And there are a lot of grounds given in the section against freedom from discrimination, which is also known as equality, that the people may not use when they discriminate against people, and this is what Operation Dudula is doing. They are acting anti-constitutionally, and they are also inciting violence against immigrants, which is also unconstitutional and expressly prohibited in the Bill of Rights.
Operation Dudula is claiming that it's acting in the interests of South Africans. How do they make that make sense? And what is your response to that argument, particularly when it comes to access to public health care?
This is a very disingenuous argument on the part of Operation Dudula, because there's no statistical evidence that shows that the breakdown in health services and the breakdown in basic services is related in any way to the presence of immigrants in our country. Rather, the factors reside with the government. I mean, we know that there's corruption, we know that there's failure to maintain infrastructure, and therefore the infrastructure is collapsing. We know that there's mismanagement, we know that there is a failure of good governance. And these are the real factors behind, for instance, the failure of the public health system to be able to cope with with the volumes of people that it needs to. These are the real reasons, but Operation Dudula opportunistically is taking the chance to carry out their actions against immigrants, against foreign nationals, on the spurious reason, which, as I said, has got no statistical proof, that they are taking away jobs from South Africa. They're overburdening the public health system. This is not true.
So what kind of threats and attacks have there been on these human rights organizations operating in the country of South Africa? Abahlali baseMjondolo, the Socio-Economic Rights Institute, and the South African Human Rights Commission.
Abahlali baseMjondolo did. They released a statement a couple of days ago detailing some of the threats that they have received. And, these are threats that are made openly on social media, such as, "You will be necklaced one by one." I believe that, that those were the very words. I don't have the statement open in front of me now, but that is the nature of the threats that they are receiving. And it's absolutely, it just cannot happen. It must not be allowed to happen. That people make such threats against their own countrymen just merely for the purpose of because they're standing up for human rights.
Abahlali has long faced violence and intimidation. It's not the first time that they're going through this. So now that it's escalating, what is the plan from here on out? And is there any kind of responsibility that can be placed on even some of the social media platforms in terms of due diligence in protecting its users?
You see, unfortunately, social media is a bit of a free-for-all at the moment. This is because the owners of the social media platforms are not strict enough in managing the content that is on there. There's a lot of hate speech that's shared. There's a lot of fake news that is shared, and these managers of the platforms don't take enough care, and they don't do their own due diligence, in weeding them out. So what can be done at the moment? I know there's a court case. We've got Kopanang, Africa Against Xenophobia, which is that they've brought a case against Operation Dudula, which is in the High Court at the moment, and they are being represented by SERI, by the Socio-Economic Rights Institute, which is one of the reasons why this organization has been targeted. So we'll have to see what happens in terms of that court case, the urgency with which it's treated in the courts, and what it is, and from that judgment will flow the actions that social justice organizations may decide to take against Dudula. The judgment will guide us as to how to proceed.
What role can or should law enforcement and government institutions play in protecting human rights defenders from threats like this?
Well, they must do their job. They must act constitutionally. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights expressly prohibits this kind of action, and law enforcement must enforce that. Unfortunately, we hear reports that the police actually act hand in hand with Dudula on some occasions, or at least if they don't act hand in hand, they stand by and they don't intervene. So so the police and law enforcement have to step up. They have to do their job, and they have to apply the principles of the Constitution against everybody equally, and that includes those who are acting unconstitutionally.
Finally, what message does Corruption Watch want to send to ordinary South Africans and ordinary foreign nationals within the country, especially those who may feel anger and frustration about service delivery failures, but also the irresponsibility of making threats like this?
We would like people to know that it is in their hands to change the situation. Not immediately, not overnight, but the fact is that it's our government partly that has brought the situation to fruition, and people have to be, especially when it comes to, for instance, elections. We've got local government elections coming up next year. People must think very long and hard about who they want to vote into power. Because the current government, I'm speaking before the government of national unity, has failed them. That's the only word that we can use. So people must obviously, without putting themselves in danger. We don't want people to go and put themselves in harm's way, but they must do what they can within their powers to stand up against xenophobia, because it really is. That is a violation of human rights, and they must think about when it comes to decisions that affect them, political decisions. They must think about who they want to take those decisions forward.
Janine, thank you so much again for joining us at Channel Africa.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Janine Erasmus is from Corruption Watch, talking to us about concerns and how they've condemned recent threats and attacks on human rights organizations and defenders operating within the country of South Africa. 7:30 Central